McCafferty. The American in front, almost a cult in the United States. He's a sort of athletic Beatle. There are T-shirts around, Go Pre, all around the stadium worn by American fans. The Europeans say that he hasn't really been in a war yet, but this boy's got utter belief in himself. And he's inexperienced enough in many ways not to know how good the others are. Prefontaine, another athlete who can't leave it late. A long-distance driver, really, who's got to go from home for way out. Ian Stewart in second place. Viren, who's a similar runner to Prefontaine, comes up and states his intention now. 3 laps to go. A curious run by Bedford, who's never believed to have had any sort of finish at all. Prefontaine leads, Viren second, Puttyman's third. Ian Stewart, Great Britain fourth. The Olympic champion Gamoudi in fifth place. McCafferty, Scotland, and Great Britain next. Then Bedford just behind him. They're now in file down the back straight with about 20 metres from first to last. The American leads, the Finn second. Stewart, Great Britain third. That's Puttyman's third, actually, and Stewart fourth. The chasing group. And suddenly it's starting to happen, and runners are losing touch. Bedford's next to the back now, or next 2 from the back. And Prefontaine, who's had leg trouble all this season, right out of the race for the look of it. He's about 20, 30 metres behind the leader as they come up now with 2 to go. And Viren and Prefontaine together. Puttyman's is next, Gamoudi next, and Ian Stewart next. And these 5 are clear. McCafferty's suffering and Bedford suffering. And so the sole remaining Briton with a chance is Ian Stewart. A lap and 3/4 left. And they really have left this one for the fastest finisher. The Finn, the world record holder, at 10,000 metres, the gold medalist already leads. Viren, there's been a certainty about his running in the past 6 weeks that's almost made winning seem inevitable. Prefontaine now stating his case as he goes in front. Puttyman's covering the 2 leaders. Gamoudi, the Olympic champion, fourth. And Ian Stewart still making no move in 5th place. Norpeth trying to close with the leading 5. And into the straight for next to the last time. The chunky American driving for home. Viren following. And Ian Stewart not covering Gamoudi. Gamoudi goes third, and here comes Ian Stewart now. But they're getting away. This time the bell. Viren leads for Finland. Prefontaine is next. Gamoudi, the champion, goes up second. Stewart trying hard to close. So too is Puttyman's. Round the bend and into that back straight. The long straight they're facing for the last time, and this the final lap. And the American attacks on the outside, but Gamoudi responds. Viren there, and these 3 now. 7, 8 metres clear of Ian Stewart, and these are the medal men. 200 metres left. The champion Gamoudi leads. Viren moves up inside Prefontaine. The Finn and the American gathering for the final attack. And here comes Viren chasing his 2nd gold medal. Viren goes for home. Gamoudi is bankrupt. So too is Prefontaine. And the Finn goes in now for his 2nd gold medal, and Stewart with a late run. The Finn wins. Gamoudi second. Stewart gets the bronze. Prefontaine dies in the final stride. 4th, Puttyman's 5th, Norpeth 6th, Hallen always 7th. Zvirodov 8, Eisenberg 9, Alvarez Salgado 10, and 12.
Marty Liguori, who of course is the AAU champion in the mile, stepping up today to the 2 mile. In lane number 2, from Spokane, Washington, Gerry Lindgren. In lane 3, from Yale, Frank Shorter. And in lane 4 is the high school sensation. He's graduated now from Coos Bay, Oregon, Steve Prefontaine. The 2 mile run.
And this should be a very good one. 4 very evenly matched runners. Marty Liguori, the NCAA and AAU mile champion. Gerry Lindgren, one of America's great distance runners. Frank Shorter, who won the NCAA 6 mile title this year. And Steve Prefontaine, who is destined to be one of America's very best in the next year or 2. They moved off to a leisurely beginning with Shorter, Prefontaine, then Lindgren and LaCourre. Track here not exceptionally fast, and a bit of a swirling wind that will probably hold down the time a bit, but the competition, of course, is definitely here. Frank Shorter holding the lead. Prefontaine on his shoulder. Now Gerry Lindgren in the middle of the track moves up to take the lead as they come to the end of the first 440. And they are off to a pedestrian 67 and 2/10 beginning. Now Lindgren, of course, feeling this very slow pace, picks it up tremendously and has already broken away from the field. He has a good 6 or 7 yards on Prefontaine, with Shorter a couple of strides behind him and LaCourre running at the back of the field. Gerry Lindgren is making a good comeback after an Achilles injury ruined him in 1968. He ran his best 2 mile when he did 8:35.4 and finishing second to Jack Batchelor in the West Coast Relays. At the AAU Championships in Miami, he was narrowly edged by Tracy Smith in 13:18.4. Gerry's had a stomach condition that's plagued him for the last 3 years, but it seems to be arrested now, and he's looking very good at this moment as he is pulling the field through the first half mile. And it's 2:09.5, so Gerry picked it up there with a 62.3 lap, and we're in better shape now for a little faster 2 mile. Steve Prefontaine is from Coos Bay, Oregon. He's just graduated from Marshfield High School there. He's 5'9½", weighs 145, he's 18 years old. This year he set a high school 2 mile record with a tremendous 8:41.6, in which he ran the second mile in 4:16.6, which is really excellent going on the second mile. He also has a 4:06 flat to his credit this year, which he did in winning the Golden West meet for high school seniors. And he has come up right now to Lindgren, and he's passed Gerry and has gone into the lead. Coming in now to the end of 3/4 of a mile with Prefontaine the leader, then Lindgren in second, and LaCourre and Shorter running together back in the third position. 3:15.3 for the 3/4 of a mile, and Steve Prefontaine with about 2 yards on Gerry Lindgren. Steve ran his first 3 mile race in the AAU Championships, and after dropping back during the early part of the race, he picked it up nicely with an excellent finish to place fourth in 13:43 flat. And he has signed a letter of intent for the University of Oregon, so he'll be under the tutelage of Bill Bowerman for the next 4 years, and that means we can expect something very good indeed from Steve Prefontaine. He and Lindgren running right together, just a stride apart, and about 10 yards behind them are the two Easterners, Marty LaCourre from Villanova, Frank Shorter from Yale. Coming in now to the end of a mile, dead even, Lindgren and Prefontaine, with LaCourre and Shorter running behind them about 20 yards to the rear. 4:22.6 for the mile, so they ran 67.2 for the first lap, 62.3 for the second, 65.8 for the third, and now 67.3 for the fourth. So they're running right about now at an 8:45 pace, and they're picking it up a bit down the back straight, Prefontaine and Lindgren, with a good 25 yards now on LaCourre and Shorter. Marty LaCourre has been bothered by an arch problem for the last 6 weeks, which has practically curtailed his training. He consulted a specialist in Los Angeles on the way over, and hopefully orthopedic support inlays that are being made will arrest the problem. He is America's premier miler at this moment, with Jim Ryan out of the track and field picture for the rest of 1969. The wind down on the track just a bit difficult for these runners, holding him back just a bit. 5:31.6, the time for 1 1/4 miles. Prefontaine, a very good finisher. Gerry Lindgren, of course, acknowledged as an excellent finisher. Gerry Lindgren was the hero of the USA-USSR meet in 1964 when, as a Spokane high school boy, he defeated the Russians over 10,000 meters. And he won the NCAA 3-mile, 6-mile double 3 years running while at Washington State. And now Lindgren is right up even with Steve Prefontaine, the two products of the Pacific Northwest. Lindgren from Spokane, Washington, Prefontaine from Coos Bay, Oregon. I get a lot of rain in Coos Bay, Oregon, but obviously it didn't hold back Prefontaine in his preparation for 1969 when he obliterated all high school records over 2 miles with his 8:41.6. Of course, Lindgren ran 8 minutes 40 seconds while a high school boy indoors, but he did not approach that outdoors. 6:40.8 now for 1.5 miles. Lindgren now back in the lead, doing the heavy work. Prefontaine now dropping back just a little bit as Lindgren picks up the tempo down the back straight, about 2 yards separating them, with LaCory and Shorter well out of it in 3rd and 4th positions. Gerry Lindgren was 9th in the Olympic Games at Tokyo in the 10,000 meters, and he shared the world record in 6 miles at 27:11.6 with Billy Mills when they finished in a virtual dead heat at the 1965 AAU Championships. He holds the American record for 5,000 meters at 13:33.8, which he did in 1968 when he defeated world record holder Ron Clark at Modesto. Now coming into the gun lap, just a stride separating Lindgren and Prefontaine. 7:46.7 the time with 1 lap to go, so we're going to have a time of somewhere around 8:45 if they sprint on the last lap, as we believe they will. Lindgren moving out now down the back straight, lengthening out away from Prefontaine, who is obviously not up to Lindgren's tempo here. Gerry looking very good. He's spent the last few weeks up at Lake Tahoe running in the rarefied air there, and certainly has benefited him because he's in excellent form here. He has about 200 yards to go now as he's in the middle of the turn, sprinting nicely. Prefontaine moving as best he can, but he's about 15 yards to Lindgren's arrears, and Gerry coming off the turn down the straight. Good knee lift, good arm action, 15 yards to go. And as Lindgren into the tape, winning this 2 mile, Prefontaine finishes 2nd. LaCory, summoning a bit of a sprint, will finish in 3rd position. And Shorter coming across in 4th. The official times in the 2 mile run: Gerry Lindgren 8:45.6, Steve Prefontaine 8:48.8, Marty LaCory 9 minutes flat, Frank Shorter 9:02 flat.